Hey guys, it's Keeley and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my May 2015 wrap up, and I actually read 10 books this month, so I'm really excited about that, especially because I've been in a reading slump for like the past 3 months, and 10 books is really good for me even on like a good reading month. So this was a great reading month and I read some really good books. So let's go ahead and get into it and enjoy. The first book I read was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. Now this book, I had really high expectations going into it, but I wasn't that impressed with it. A lot of people say that it's like laugh out loud funny and really interesting and stuff, and I just didn't really find it laugh out loud funny. I find it like some parts I was really uncomfortable with, and I just didn't appreciate that it was in the book. It's about this boy who befriends a girl with cancer, and it's not like a typical cancer book. They don't fall in love, there's no young adult romance or anything. And it was okay, but I ended up giving it 3 stars because I just didn't enjoy it as much, and maybe it was because I read it coming out of a reading slump, so that might have something to do with it. So maybe in the future I'll try reading it again. The next book I read was The Book of Awesome by Neil Pasricha? Don't know how you say his last name, but this book is really awesome. It has a bunch of little things about what makes the world awesome. It's basically a book telling you that the little things matter in life, and it's just a really cool book. I picked it up, I didn't read it straight through. I picked it up every so often when I was feeling kind of down, just to remind myself about the great little things in life. Like, let me read you a few of these. Getting your ID checked when you're way over the legal age. Yeah, pretty awesome. When someone lands on the hotel you just built in Monopoly. When you're homesick and watching The Price is Right. And when the vending machine gives you 2 things instead of 1. So it's just like little silly things that make you smile on a day-to-day basis. And I think I gave it like 4 stars maybe, just because a lot of things in here made me smile and were really relatable, so I thought it was very enjoyable. The third book I read this month was Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen, and oh my gosh, this is my favorite book I've read this year so far. My favorite Sarah Dessen book I've ever read. I loved it so much. This is about a girl whose older brother gets into some trouble. He's a very troubled kid and he ends up in prison. And so she hasn't done anything wrong her whole life, but she kind of lives in her brother's shadow. Her parents are more strict on her and don't let her do certain things because they don't want her to end up in a bad way. But also her parents are more Team Peyton, which is her brother. They believe that he didn't do anything wrong, especially her mom. And her name is Sydney, and she ends up transferring schools because she wants to start over basically and not live in her brother's shadow. And she ends up meeting this family and becomes friends with them, and it's a great story. Sarah Dessen's books are so great because they do have romance in them, but her books are not about the romance. They're about deeper things in life that makes you rethink, and I thought the story was so relatable. Like, Sydney, the main character, so relatable, and all the characters were so great and just seemed like great people, and 5 out of 5 stars, definitely loved this book. The next book I read was Live Original by Sadie Robertson with Beth Clark, and I really loved this book, and it's really short, so really quick read. I read it in 1 sitting, and I have loved Sadie for so long, so I was so excited to finally get to this book. And it basically just tells you certain ways to help you through your teenage years and help you to fix difficult things in your life and go through difficult situations that you may face growing up. And this actually helped me with some things that I was dealing with, and it helped me decide what I needed to do, and it got rid of some of my anxieties that I was having, so it was really great. 5 out of 5 stars. The next 3 books I read were a trilogy by Jenny Han, The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, and We'll Always Have Summer. And these 3 books were all so great. I think I gave them 4 to 5 stars each. They were really great. It's about 3 kids, one's a girl and 2 are boys, really attractive boys, and she starts growing up and turning pretty, and the boys start to notice her, so it's kind of like a love triangle, but it's a good love triangle. And in the beginning, Belly, the girl, is kind of immature and annoying, but I promise you she gets better, so just hold out and read the series. It's so good. Jenny Han's writing is so great, and I flew through all of these. I read them all one sitting each, so it was a really great trilogy and really fun to read. The next book I read was Safe Haven by Nicholas Sparks, and this book was really good. It's kind of slow in the beginning setting up, but it is also very suspenseful. I had already seen the movie, so I knew what happened, but it still kept me on the edge of my seat. I had to put it down a few times because my anxiety was getting up, and I was just like, whoa, this is intense, this is crazy. Like, his writing is so good, and it really keeps you intrigued and into the story. I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's about this lady, Katie, who ends up running away from home from her husband because he beats her, and he's trying to find her, and she moves into a town, and she like changes her name, and she ends up falling in love, and it's just the ending, the last quarter of the book is so suspenseful, it's so good. You should definitely pick this one up and read it. The next book I read was Falls Like Lightning by Sean Grady, and this book was a little confusing. It was good, but it was confusing at points. It is about a smoke jumper, and a smoke jumper is basically a person who will jump out of helicopters or planes and try to stop a fire. They don't use water to stop the fire. They try to basically break up the ground and draw a line in the area to make the fire stop at a certain point. And so it's about a smoke jumper, and they just use a lot of technical terms that are really hard to understand if you're not used to that line of work, and it's just really confusing, and it does switch point of views a lot, and so sometimes I had to reread the pages to figure out who was talking, where they were, what the storyline was. But the ending was so good, and it's what made me raise my rating to, it was kind of like a 3.5, I guess. It was going to be a 2, but it ended up being like a 3 to 3.5 just because the ending was so great. So it ended up being a pretty good book. It was just really confusing at the beginning. And the last book I read was Hangman's Curse by Frank Peretti. It is volume 1 in the Veritas Project, and this is about a family, a husband and wife and twin kids, a boy and a girl, and they have this thing called the Veritas Project where they go and try to solve cases and find the truth, because Veritas means truth. And so they're hired by the president to go to certain cases and figure out. And there's this one school, Baker High School, where they get called to, and there's this legend going around about this kid who hung himself, and he's haunting people, and some of the students end up in the hospital. So they're trying to figure out what's going on, how these kids are being harmed, and they end up going crazy and stuff, so they're trying to figure out what's going on. And this guy is Frank Peretti. He is a Christian author, so there are some aspects of religion, so just letting you know that in case that's what you're really interested in, or if that kind of turns you off. But I'm a Christian, so I enjoyed this book very much. It was really suspenseful. There were parts in the book that were really scary, and I had to put it down. It was just like, whoa, because it reminded me a lot of Elementary when you have all the scary stories, and that's what it reminded me of. So it was kind of nostalgic, and it was really suspenseful at points, and it was really a good story. So I gave this about a 3.5 to 4 star rating maybe. It was pretty good. And those are all the books I read for this month. Let me try to hold these up. Oh man. I read 10 books for this month, and it was a great reading month. If you have read any of these, comment down below and let me know. Okay, it's getting heavy. If you've read any of those, let me know what you thought about them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you read for this month. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye!